Okie doke, dear readers. This is what we call a final gather. This is the stakeout location, so named for that array of microphones over there, where leaders will come and, or whoever, guests of the White House will come out and address the press. So we are all gathering here for an escort over to the South Court Auditorium, where we will see President Obama's remarks at the summit to combat violent extremism, whatever it's called. So, all right, here we go, over to the South Court Auditorium. It's a bigger crowd than usual for something like this. So, I think you've all seen the route before, so I'm going to click you off till we get there. Alright, so here we are at the
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. How are things?
Good, thanks, guys.
Good.
this is the summit on countering violent extremism.
Of course, absolutely.
Alright, so
Please.
this is the President's podium.
Can you see the symbol?
And the famous teleprompter. Do you have any message for my coworkers?
I think you should put a correction on that headline of the story you wrote in 2013 about my skeet shooting all the time story.
Are you serious? No, you're not serious.
I'm not
Why
serious.
do you keep laughing?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm getting ready to file stories, and the president's coming, and there are more interesting things everywhere.
As we all look for ways to engage with communities, religious, business, civic leaders will help create an inclusive space where fewer people feel marginalized. It's my privilege to introduce Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, Ms. Lisa Monaco, who will provide the initial closing remarks and introduce our keynote speaker.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I know that I am the only person standing between you and the main event, so I'll be very brief. I do want to thank everyone for being here today. Law enforcement officers, community leaders, teachers, elected officials, foreign ministers, and of course, entrepreneurs. Thanks so much for taking part today and spending your time here in these discussions with us. This summit focuses on domestic and international efforts to prevent terrorist attacks, like those, of course, that we've seen most recently in Copenhagen and Paris, Boston and Sydney, and which sadly occur daily in places like Nigeria, Iraq, Syria, and beyond. Here in the U.S., though, thanks to the tireless efforts and sacrifice of introducing someone who has been laser-focused on making countering violent extremism a central part of our counterterrorism strategy from his very first days in office, including by developing the first government-wide strategy to prevent violent extremism here at home. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. Lisa is an example of the countless dedicated public servants across our government to work together to vanquish these organizations. At the United Nations in September, I called on the international community to come together and eradicate this scourge of violent extremism. And I want to thank all of you from across America and around the world for answering this call. Tomorrow at the State Department, governments and civil society groups from more than 60 countries will focus on the steps that we can take as governments. And I'll also speak about how our nations have to remain relentless in our fight, our counterterrorism efforts against groups that are plotting against our countries. The ingredient to real and lasting stability and progress is not less democracy, it's more democracy. It's institutions. It's institutions that uphold the rule of law and apply justice equally. It's security forces and police that respect human rights and treat people with dignity. It's free speech in strong civil societies where people can organize and assemble and advocate for peaceful change. It's freedom of religion where all people can practice their faith without fear and intimidation. All of this is part of countering violent extremism. Fourth, we have to recognize that our best partners in all these efforts, the best people to help protect individuals from falling victim to extremist ideologies, are their own communities, their own family members. We have to be honest with ourselves. Terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIL deliberately target their propaganda in the hopes of reaching, is killing Muslims at a rate that is many multiples the rate that they're killing non-Muslims. Everybody has a stake.